All right, guys, let's finish chapter 20. So I'm on 179, and we just need to go to the top of 185. And then we will finish up for today, and I'll read you 21 tomorrow, and then we'll get it finished up by Thursday, I think is my plan. So I have to double up some days. But on 179, I left off. We can go check if you want. So Arturo and Carmen are going to go get a book, a poem book of poetry, whatever, from Abuela's apartment. Okay, she said, smiling as she followed me to Abuela's apartment. We walked in, and the AC was still on. The coolness gave me goosebumps, but I didn't mind. Abuela's copy of the Martí book was still on the coffee table. Here it is, I said, handing it to her. That's awesome, she said. Look how old the book is. Keep it, I said. Did I really mean that? I decided I did. I can't keep this, she said. No way. She would have wanted you to have it. Carmen opened the book to the first few pages and started reading silently. She shook her head. I won't keep it, she said. It's too special. Well, at least borrow it. Carmen paced around the room, reading while I dug through a bunch of Abuela's old photographs. I thought people at the memorial might want to see some. There was one with Abuela and Abuelo on a beach. Uncle Carlos was in Abuela's arms, and my mom held on to Abuela's hand while Aunt Tootie showed off her missing 2 front teeth with a smile. Some pictures were slightly torn around the edges, and others were taken in a time when cars looked like round, colorful toasters. Abuela stood in front of a car like that, wearing white pants and a flowing jacket. Her hair was really short and curly, and even though the picture was black and white, you could see her bright eyes glowing. Carmen kept reading as I flipped through the pictures. Neither one of us said a word. Occasionally, Carmen made a comment about how it seemed like Jose Martí could be read in any time period. His poetry is political but full of love and hope, she said, and I nodded. But really, I had no idea what she was talking about. Hey, check this out, I said. Who does this look like? Carmen put down Abuela's book of poems and stared at the black and white photo. It looks just like Jose Martí, she said. It can't be, I said. Martí died like more than 100 years ago. Well, yes, but the building La Cocina is in is really old, Carmen said. He could have stopped there to give a speech or something. Hang on, I said, checking my phone for reference. I typed the address of La Cocina and added historical to the search. Nothing came up. I typed Jose Martí and La Cocina de Isla, probably, but nothing came up. Then I typed Merritt family and Jose Martí, since the Merritt's ancestors practically founded this town, and a few hits popped up about the late 1800s. The Merritt family is one of the oldest families in the neighborhood, I told Carmen, and look, some of the original Merritts might have had a connection to Martí. So how does that help us? Carmen asked, getting closer. Abuela used to work for the descendants of the Merritts. It's possible that there's a link somehow. Maybe that's why she has this photo, she said, jumping up. And if the building La Cocina is located in is actually historical, it can't be torn down. Carmen jumped up and down excitedly. How can we know or find out for sure? We left Abuela's apartment, taking the old photo of Cuba's most famous hero with us. When we got to the courtyard, we ran to my mom, who sat waiting on a bench. What's up? She asked. Mom, we found something. If this is about Wilfredo, I don't want to hear it. It's not. It's about the Arturo. My mom shot both of us a look. I don't want to hear it right now, okay? Carmen placed her hand on my shoulder, and that rumbling, stiff throat, nervous like a fish being reeled in feeling came back. I shrugged it off. Carmen didn't like me like that. My mom got up and made her way back to the apartment. She took slow steps up the stairs, and I could tell she was tired. I decided to leave her alone. Uncle Frank saw us coming through his window and came out to give me a hug. You really have grown, Arturo. Uncle Frank was super tall. I may have grown, but I felt like a little kid in his arms. Mi amor, can you help me with the website? I forgot what I needed to do to post something with photographs. And a little girl from Andalusia sent a comment. Can you respond to her? Carmen and Uncle Frank had been working on a blog for kids who had lost a parent to sickness. It was mostly in Spanish, and the site had nice pictures on it. The front page had a picture of Carmen's mom with a caption about her story. Carmen had put in a comment section for people to send questions or share their stories. Okay, Papa, she said. See you later, Arturo. I nodded and watched as she walked with Uncle Frank back to her apartment. She stopped, told her dad something, and ran back to me. Hey, she said with a sad kind of smile. Her shiny braces made little red and blue sparkles on her teeth. It gets better, you know, losing someone. I watched as the words slowly came out of her mouth. Something about Carmen's smile made me, I don't know, less mad at things. My parents were on the sofa when I got home, sitting in silence. I think I startled them because my mom flinched a little when she lifted her head off my dad's shoulder. Her eyes were puffy and she kept blowing her nose. She tried to smile at me, but she didn't say anything. My dad smiled and winked. He had a way of lightening even the saddest moments. He caressed my mom's head as she lowered it back onto his shoulder. My mom had just returned to Miami after working for a few years in fancy New York restaurants when she'd met my dad. He was in town from Los Angeles, where he acted in commercials. He stopped at Lola's Cafe on the far side of Main Street for a coffee one day. That was where, from what my dad tells me, things didn't start out that great. I spent the entire morning apologizing to your mother for having spilled coffee all over her white chef coat. She finally agreed to let me buy her another one, and the rest is history. That's how he remembers it, my mom would always say. It was more like he followed me all the way to La Cocina begging me to accept a new coffee. Which she did. Every time my parents told the story, they each had their version of how it went down, and it often prompted playful bickering. It was the way they expressed their love. Abuelo and Abuela expressed theirs differently. I guess the common thread was that both my Abuelo and my dad kind of failed epically the first time they'd met my Abuela and my mom. I went up to my room and checked to see if Bren was online, and I hoped Mop would be able to come to the memorial dinner next Sunday. When I didn't hear from Bren, I checked the family group chat. There weren't any conversations. It was the first time that had ever happened. Someone always sent at least a funny picture or a video. It felt weird to not talk to my family on a Sunday. I looked at the photograph of Marty again and put it away. Now wasn't the time to be an activist or a poet or any of those things. I took out Abuelo's box and looked at the remaining blank pages. They reminded me of silence. Silence was another way to remember. So that's the end of chapter 20. I'm going to do a challenge for you today from the first video. In the first video, message me or tell me how many people you saw in that video. So tell me that number and I'll put you in let's do a second gift card drawing. So I told you already we would do a $10 one. We're going to make the next one a $15 one. So if you can tell me the answer, if you've watched both videos, then you need to have watched both to be able to give me the right answer. So I will see you guys tomorrow for chapter 21. Bye.